Calling the Thursday, June 8th, 2017 regular meeting of Dune City Council to order. And it's 7 o'clock. And we have a roll call.
Council President Sheldon Meyer,
Present.
Councilor Duke Wells,
Here.
Councilor Tom Allen,
Here.
Councilor Alan Montgomery,
Here.
Councilor Robert Forsythe,
Here.
and for the record, Mayor Reedy and Councilor Bob Orr are both absent and excused.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show it passed unanimously. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also passed unanimously. On our announcements, we're starting, Darling Resort and Marina is organizing a fireworks display on Saturday, July 1st, and is looking for donations. And I know that the council has already contributed some, but it should be fun. Hope to see you all there. The second announcement, there have been several cougar sightings in the area, and residents are encouraged to use caution and be on the lookout. I know that my neighbor has a huge fat black cat, but I don't think it's the same one that they're confusing with.
Answer.
So anyhow, be aware. And there will be refreshments served after the meeting, and all are welcome to join us.
Councilor Meyer. I was asleep at the wheel and making comments on the consent agenda. We actually have amended bills of the session that are on the
Yes.
dais.
Yes.
And I want clarification if that's what you meant for, if the motion was to adopt those or
Yes.
the ones that's presented.
Thank you for pointing that out, but yes, I'd already put them in and took the other one out. That's what I was passing. All right, correspondence. We've got a couple of correspondence that are, one concerning burning, and would rather we just chipped everything rather than burned everything. And another letter supporting the fact that we have the ability to burn little things when we need to. And I know that Dune City in and of itself does not have a burn ordinance.
That's correct.
And so it's my understanding that we follow the Lane County burn requirements. And they tell us when we can and when we can't burn. So have you all had a chance to read the letters?
Yes.
Any thoughts, discussions?
My thought on it was that, you know, we do follow, we're in a fire district, we have a fire marshal, and he can stop burning around here when he sees fit, and we have a Lane County El Rapa that we have to phone in before we burn to make sure conditions are such that we can burn. I think that's adequate for Dune City in my opinion.
Exactly.
I would echo that, yes.
Yes. Yes.
No action is taken, needs to be taken, but I would point out that there is a requirement to get a burn permit. They're free of charge. They're available at City Hall. They're available at the fire department. This lets the fire department know that you intend to burn. And I would also point out that a lot of people who are doing the complaining don't realize that this is just a certain period of time.
Yeah.
June 15th is the drop dead date, and then there won't be any more burning. So it's just for a little while, folks. hold your breath.
Yeah.
The wind will come up.
Take a trip, yeah. The rain should clear all that up. Right, and another piece of correspondence is requesting that we reinstitute, I guess, a pet ordinance, dog control ordinance, and concerns that there are lots of free roaming canines, I guess, and it sounds like they really did bother in a house or two. This is the first, that I've heard about the concern. I know that a few months ago, or however long it was, we decided not to enforce our ordinance and do away with it. Have you all read the letter, and any thoughts on that?
We've already addressed this issue, and it's the same thing. We are not equipped as a community financially to be able to take on a vehicle to contain a dog that's out of control or running loose or whatever. We do not have a person trained in doing that. We don't have the loops to go around the dog's neck. We have no one here that can go chasing after dogs, jumping over trees and rocks, and I've done it with Florence Police. I don't do it very often anymore. And then of course we have no place to really house the dogs other than take them to the Humane Society in Florence. So we're just not staffed for it. We don't have the equipment, we don't have the training. To me, the answer is the same as before.
Any other thoughts?
Mine is strictly just budget, just money. And the letter, it looked like they tried to contact, or they did contact Lane County. They didn't do anything. They contacted
Eugene
Animal Control, the city. They weren't going to do anything. I don't know what we could do, so it kind of goes back to the budget, which is Councilman Allen was talking about, I think, too.
Other thoughts?
I agree entirely.
I would like to see it, but again, as Tom stated, until we are able to fiscally responsible to take on that task and budget that task, we would be neglecting our duties to implement something that we couldn't afford to do and don't have the trained staff to do so. And it's unfortunate because I think it's something that my experience in the short time I've lived here is needed, but it's also a very expensive proposition to do so.
The training and liability for handling a 150-pound German Shepherd, that doesn't want to go with you.
Exactly.
And as I've stated before, there's not a pet problem in the world that a good taxidermist can't fix.
That's a different liability.
Yeah.
So I don't sense any change of where we are right now. Item number 8 is citizen input on items except for those listed under public hearing. Do we have any?
We do. Mr. Bob Pine is here, and also Ken Pesnell.
Is Ken here? Would you like to speak to something?
Sure.
Want to come up to the microphone and nice medal.
Show you too. We'll hit the table with it. Just wanted to say thank you to Dune City for putting on another great event. This the Oregon Dunes Duathlon, I believe, is becoming a premier event. Done it 3 times now and finished every time. Love doing it. I'm glad you guys are supporting it, and I urge you to continue doing it. Saw a lot of young people out there this year. The following week at the roadie race, there was a lot of these T-shirts on people. So, and Sheldon, you must have had some strong arms after holding these all day. These are some heavy, beautiful medals.
But,
Thank you to Best in the West. They put on a great event.
yeah,
Great
it's all
shirts.
for your refrigerator magnet.
It is, yes. I know. I was looking at it when I first got it, I'm like, okay. So I went home and tested it. It does work. So, again, thank you very, very much. It's a great event.
Thank you.
For a lot of good competitors talking well about us.
Appreciate the input. Bob Pine?
Members of the council, city staff, guests. I'm Bob Pine. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Central Oregon Coast Amateur Radio Club. Wanted to piggyback on a later agenda item and make sure that you know that you're invited to our field day operation. It's coming up June 24th and 25th. It's a 24-hour emergency radio operation that we hold out at Sutton Campground because that had no radios before we got there, no power, and it shows what the radio club can do to set up and maintain emergency communications if the need ever arises, starting from scratch. It starts at 11 o'clock on Saturday, June 24th, ends at 10:59 on Sunday. So it's, you know, a sustained operation. We'd love to have you come down. Part of what we do, part of what the whole purpose is to make an outreach and to demonstrate to our elected officials and served agencies what we can do. And there will be a demonstration of all the different types of radio communication at the site. Should be it. If you come around 5 o'clock, there will also be a barbecue. I'll throw that in. There are points given for an elected official showing up. We normally score. We're a little bitty outfit in the Florence, Dune City, Mapleton area. But we normally score in the top half of the 2,700 outfits that across the US and Canada that participate each year. So it's the biggest amateur radio event of the year. We'd like to show off for you and show you what we can do if we ever need to. So hope you can make some time and show up for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for what you do. All right, new business. Award winners of the organization that provided the most volunteers at the Oregon Dunes Triathlon Duathlon is the Central Oregon Coast Amateur Radio Club. And this evening we are pleased to present our $250 reward to the organization that brought the most volunteers to the 5th Annual Oregon Dunes Triathlon. Again, that organization is the Central Oregon Coast Amateur Radio Club. 24 members of the club were on hand for the triathlon this year. Thank you for your support and for all you do for Dune City. And accepting the award is Renee Dickerson. And here's your check.
All right. Nice.
Certificate.
Okay. For the value of the flags.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
Get the flags. And,
Thank you.
yeah, that was. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the help. All right. Insurance renewal invoice review. Can you help
This
us?
this is on the agenda for a couple of reasons. Number one, to show you what it costs us every year for our liability insurance and for our auto insurance. And secondly, I met with our insurance agent, actually it was today that I did it, and expressed to them the concern that the council expressed to me, our counselors have expressed to me regarding the fact that certain things have not been covered that we thought should be. And his recommendation was that we have an executive session. Let me get a hold of Pre-Laws and ask them to come to attend by telephone on an executive session to answer your questions, so that you get a direct answer as to why they aren't covering these items that seem like no-brainers to be covered. So if you're interested in do that, I will set that up. And
I'm most interested in having that happen.
Yeah.
okay.
I've seen a lot of shaking heads
I would be there. I would be there.
on the affirmative.
I will do it then.
All right, super, thanks, Jamie. The next item is consideration of an ad placement in contractors and home improvement source book. And I believe
Mayor Reedy had tabled this to this meeting for consideration. There is a deadline coming up, and it's with regard to paying for an ad in this particular publication, so I'll pass it down. I believe this was last year's publication. There aren't many ad slots still available. Most of them have been purchased. but- Just throwing it out there, we do business with most of the contractors that have advertised in there, and or they are licensed to do business in Dune City. Just wasn't sure whether there was an interest. Some of them I can figure out, but this one was a little borderline for me.
Did Mayor Reedy have a feeling for yea or nay?
She didn't say. She didn't say. She wanted to look at it more carefully.
We've only got a week to make a decision, right?
Right.
Any thoughts on?
Well, my personal, I get these things, I've been in business for 28 years and I get these things all the time. Personally, I don't think they benefit our business when we advertise them myself.
Other thoughts?
Not sure how it would
Benefit us?
benefit.
It
Unless
might
you
help
know
the
that-
citizenry, that's the only
Oh,
thing I'm
I
thinking,
see what
is
you're
that,
saying.
look, here's a list, but they can probably get that in the phone book, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, or online.
Yeah, we'll start online nowadays. I don't see how it really benefits this, our budgetary requirements.
Okay. And
I think, yeah, what are we selling?
yeah.
Our image,
Tom?
I agree.
Okay.
I can't see the word.
Fiscal responsibility is a good image too.
that's true.
All right, super. The next item of business is Resolution Series 2017, number 12, dated 6/8/2017. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor, president of the city council, and the city administrator to sign as signatories on all accounts of Dune City. Does this need to have a first and second reading and hearing and yada yada? or-
No, it's just a resolution, so it's just made on, approved by motion.
Okay,
No public hearing is actually required on this one. By way of explanation, in the past, what we've done what the city has done is appointed people. And it usually was the mayor, the city administrator, and the president of the city council. So it just formalizes it, because it's very hard to find, because you do it in the minutes, when you think of it and you need it. And so I don't really know where to find it. This makes it official and easy to find. And this way I can get the credit card machine and account set up and get moving. So,
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, public hearings.
this one does require a public hearing?
And this is resolution number 13. Resolution series 2017, number 13. As a resolution adopting the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget. And Does this require a first and second reading, or?
No, it doesn't
Title
require
only?
first and second reading, but it does require a public hearing, but no one in the public has signed up to talk, to speak.
Okay,
You'd still have to open it.
You still have to open and close it.
all right, so I'm opening the public hearing at 7:20. And there's no one to comment?
There's no one signed up, but you may
Anyone want to comment
express
on the
interest.
budget?
I think the budget committee and and staff has done a very good job this year. It was timely, it was well constructed. Minor corrections had to be made. I think the staff did a really good job, and the budget committee followed its requirements in a very timely manner. I like the process very much. Appreciate the work that was done to it.
All right. So,
Public, so you can close the public hearing.
close the public hearing. It looks to be about 7:22. Need a motion to approve the budget?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, or do we need to do a roll call?
I didn't see that as a requirement. but-
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimous. So now we're on old business. Volunteer of the Year Award. Yes.
We've had 2 nominations this year, one of which the mayor felt, and I'm just expressing the mayor's opinion, that she felt that all of them were deserving and that one could be awarded posthumously and the other at our next meeting, if that was the pleasure of the council. So therefore, you have both applications in your packets. The mayor did sign a certificate that was presented to the heirs of Mr. Wasserberg, Dr. Wasserberg, this afternoon. Council President Meyer did that, so.
And it was very well received, I thought.
I thought so too.
They were most appreciative. I really liked the line in the certificate that said, truly, that we were truly blessed to have such a knowledgeable and caring individual donating his time and knowledge to help our city be a better, safer place to live. And his son accepted it very gracefully. So it was, we might have jumped the gun on it, but it seemed to be
We
the
had to.
appropriate thing to do
Yeah.
at the time.
We had to, we were running out of
And
time.
you can hit me later if you think I overstepped. So the other Volunteer of the Year nomination form you have in your packet for Camden Wine Platt, and talking about all that they've done to contribute and help and that sort of stuff. So we need a motion to accept them.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No, I agree.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, passed unanimously. And now we get to talk to Blair and Stacy. 2017 Oregon Dunes Triathlon and Duathlon, follow-up from you two. And I see you brought a fan base with you too, so that helps.
Alright, well, thank you very much for having us, and we just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Dune City and the community, as well as all of our wonderful volunteers and sponsors who helped make this year's event possible, and wanted to give you a little overview of kind of what we saw this year, things that changed, how the event went in general for those of you who weren't able to make it out, and let you throw any feedback our way for things to change, tweak, and continue to improve into 2018. So I'm going to hand it off to Stacy to kind of give a quick recap on participant numbers and what we saw trending this year.
So So this year we had 271 people start the race. That was a little bit less than what had registered. I think some people woke up, looked outside, and went back to sleep. And then we had 9 people not finish the race today, which is this year, which is the most non-finishers that we've had, and most of those were weather related. We had a few crashes on the bike course, and some people that were very cold, and some people that were cold and just had some reason not to continue on the day. Of the people who came out to the race this year, 192 of them had done 10 or less triathlons or multi-sport events ever. Of those, 22 had done 2 triathlons ever, and 58 people came out for their first event ever. So we were really pleased with the number of first-timers to take on a very challenging course. We had several states represented, including Washington, Utah, Oregon, obviously, Minnesota, Idaho, Delaware, Colorado, California, Arizona, and we had another nation join us. We had a few from Canada. Our oldest participant this year was 76 years old, and we had 7 people who were over 70 racing in the triathlon this year. Our youngest participant was 10 years old, and we had 12 participants under the age of 18. So the youngsters overtook the older generation, but only by a little bit. We hope that next year we get just as many, both young and old, into the race. So that's your numbers recap.
A general event recap for those of you who weren't at the event. It was May 13th, and if you weren't outside that day, it was very, very wet. We've been putting events on for about 7 years now and racing for about 10, and that was the wettest event either of us have been part of, either directing or racing. So being able to have a day like that at the finish line, still see smiles all around, lets us know that something went right. And despite what Mother Nature threw at us, that the race itself was executed well, and people were having fun, they were loving the venue and the area. Because if you can put a smile on their face when it's 47 and raining, things are going well. So a few things that we changed, tweaked, and added this year, partially from last year's feedback from the community members and those who work on the event with us, are we added a aqua bike division, which is just a swim bike, so you don't have to run. We added that. We increased our advanced notification signage out in the roads that are affected, so Canary and Clear Lake, we got that signage out about a week sooner, so people had plenty of time to see those signs and hopefully know that on May 13th there's going to be a bit more congestion. We added another shuttle this year to help get participants from the Dayu side of Honeyman over to the start and back and forth. We opened up parking in the group camp area of Honeyman Park, so thank you to the park for allowing us to increase our parking footprint there. We had Homegrown Public House came out and catered all of our finish line, which was a really nice improvement. It takes a lot of the stress off of the race, trying to also get food cranked out for all the participants, and that's what they do, is provide great food, and so it's really nice for our participants to cross the finish line and have that nice warm soup provided to them. Our day of race registration numbers are where we saw the biggest change in our registration, and we last year had 50 day of race registrations. That is either at packet pickup the night before or day of race. This year we only saw 7, so that was kind of to be expected. As soon as the extended forecast came out about 2 weeks beforehand, and it was nothing but rain on the calendar, our registrations started to slow way down. So we were, until that point, well on track to grow again this year, but the rain threw a curveball at us, and so those last 2 weeks of registrations, numbers kind of stopped coming in. But those who did come out, like we said before, if we can get them to the finish line in the rain with smiles, then things are going well. For 2018, we'd like to put out some of the items that we're looking to tweak, change, and improve upon, and then also either open it up to anyone who is at the event or to those watching at home. If you have any suggestions, if you're out volunteering or just saw the race in general, if there's ways that we can help improve the operations or improve the impact it has on the community, please feel free to either reach out to us at Best and West Events or send your comments into Dune City Hall, because we'd love to hear from you. So a few of the changes we'll be implementing next year are going to be starting to look into implementing is seeing if we can set up more on Friday in the park. This is going to be something that we have to get the park's cooperation and approval for, but we'd like to set up our finish area on Friday. Right now we're only putting in the T-posts, but there's the finish line arches and tents and fencing and a lot of things that just have to go out that day. And with having two separate areas, the finish line's always kind of a rush to get things up, and that dune at the finish does not make things any easier because all the equipment has to be hauled up the dune and then walk back down, get more, and haul it back up the dune. And so to those volunteers who stand at the very top of the dune and do things like hand out heavy metals all day, an extra thank you. So we'll be looking to set that up on Friday to minimize the amount of work that's having to be done at the finish. Hopefully all of the finish line area can be pretty well set by the time Saturday morning comes around. We'd like to hire security overnight to keep an eye on that, just to make sure everything stays safe and secure. We're also knocking around the idea of a kids dune run. A lot of our events, we try and pull a kids race into every event we do, something to get the youth excited about it, whether they're out there having to watch mom or dad or big brother or sister, trying to have something for them to get involved with the event so that they have a good time at it, and as they get older, hopefully they can progress into participating in the triathlons or some sort of multi-sport as well. So with this one, because the water is so cold and just the way the park is laid out, it's not very bike friendly. We don't really want the kids in the water because most of them won't have a wetsuit and it's pretty cold. So we were thinking a dune dash, a kids dune dash, where we set them up at the dune with a course on the dune, maybe one a little longer for the bigger kids, and give them a chance to cross the finish line and have something to burn off a little energy before they head home with their very tired parents. So those are a couple of the items that we're looking at for next year. Some of the feedback that would be really helpful for us, for either volunteers that were out or just community members in general, is we're always looking for ways to increase our community awareness, especially those who live on the course and are being affected by the traffic delays that the bike course causes, because we have to make sure we have a safe and secure bike course, and that can cause delays for people coming home, trying to maybe get to an appointment, anything like that. So if there is a way we can improve how we are making the community out there on Clear Lake and Darlings Loop and Canary aware of the event and the time frame that their roads are going to be affected, we'd love to hear that. Ways in which we can increase our volunteer numbers. The volunteers we have had out, some of them have been out every year, other ones this was their first year out and they stuck with us in the rain all day long. But we're always looking for ways that we can pull more folks in, because the more people we have out there volunteering, the less work everyone has to do and the easier it is on everyone. So many hands make light work, and so any way we can continue to increase those numbers not only makes it easier for everyone, hopefully more enjoyable for all our volunteers, but also just gets our community more involved here within Dune City and Florence, and we'd love to see that both on a participant and just a volunteer standpoint. So those are the two big items that we'd love to hear any feedback on, but if there's anything else as well, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
You got my feedback, didn't you, about?
Yep.
Okay.
about the finish area and prepping everything beforehand?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to have those things all unwrapped and open rather than trying to scamper.
We plan to ship them straight to you.
That'll be fun.
And I do have some feedback from some of the volunteers. I'll put it together in an email and make sure you get it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A warming room was suggested.
At the-
Something with sides,
At
one of
the-
the tents with sides with maybe a little heater or something.
The starting area?
Yeah, up by the, yeah.
Yeah, we took them all to the finish, but so more heaters would be,
Enough so that we can have a warming at both ends.
yeah.
Well, I was just concerned with the couple the few that were really in bad shape.
Yeah, the couple that
We
come
were
out.
putting them in cars
Yeah.
with motors running.
Yeah, I think the ambulance sitting there at the water's edge was about 120 inside.
We also ordered 250 space blankets to have available at the finish, those foil-like blankets, so that we can have those to wrap everyone as they cross the finish, so that even if they're not too cold yet, we can help
Keep
insulate them a
keep
little
that way.
better, just to be more prepared for the cold.
Even with the weather, the water was really appreciated by a lot of people that got up, got through there. That was a good addition from last year.
Yeah, and that was, so the water that he's referring to is water up at the top, at the finish line for participants to take, once they cross, which is something we didn't have the year before, but with the feedback that we generated from our volunteers and participants, that was a good note to have and worth the haul up the dune with the few very heavy water containers. Warming tents to the start and transition areas.
Actually, she also said, and even if it wasn't a warming tent, it would give, if somebody has to come into the medical tent, it gives them privacy. I mean, if
Yeah.
they've got to take their clothes off, you know.
Yeah, if they're soaking wet to the bone.
Right,
and,
yeah.
Okay, so walls on the aid tent.
It's a little bit funny that last year and the year before, we had warming tents in transition and they were hardly used. So we moved it to the finish and then now we need it, so we'll just put them in both.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to give another thank you to the ambulance and emergency technicians who were out there. They had a little bit of a busy day. We did have a few incidences on course. We had, of our 9 folks who didn't finish, 3 of those were from out on the bike course, sliding out on their bike or having a bike crash. All of them were okay at the end of the day, but they were also in very close, the time frame was tight, let's just say. So they worked well though and covered the course very efficiently and took care of all the participants who were out there. 3 of the others were from cold related issues, just having to be pulled off the course because they were too cold to continue. And then the last 3 were from other issues, mostly like stomach bugs and things like that, where they just weren't ready to continue and called it a day. So big thanks to Western Lane Ambulance and all the boys over there, boys and girls, for helping us out and keeping the participants safe. It was very nice that they can provide such good coverage and keep what could be a bad situation as safe as possible.
And also to the radio club for being out there in force, so we were able to find and know about those incidences and get messages back to the ambulance, because there's not cell phone service in all of the places on course, so thank you.
Yes, it's about 25 miles of course, and without the radio team's help, we wouldn't have nearly as much communication and eyes on course, and there would be much longer delays between an issue and being able to respond to it. So between those 2 groups helping out on course, our safety can be greatly improved and is greatly improved from what you'd see at many other events.
And just one more round of thank you to the council, to Dune City, and to all the community members who came out, helped, and volunteered. The love and support that comes from Dune City, and everyone in Dune City and Florence really makes this a special event. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And Mary will be back next year because I raced home and put her in the hot tub. She was already wet, so. All right, reports. I don't have a report as the mayor. I don't know that, did Rebecca leave a report? Thank you. Community center report.
Well, we had a very precise amount of fencing built out back. It was from right there to out to there. So whatever how far that was.
Yeah.
Jamie took care of that and made that happen as far as the property line
Yeah,
agreement.
right,
So
good, good, good,
She
good.
got that done.
All right, super, thanks, Jamie.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I will be even more ecstatic when the deed is recorded.
Yes, yes. We don't have a site review. Water quality still looks good. There was even a comment about it at the Wasserberg thing, about how wonderful the water is and all that he had done to make sure that we have good clean water here, so. Doing good. Jamie, the last two were yours, I guess. Emergency services and,
Okay, I guess I could turn to the reports and look at them. They're in the packet. Let me see if there's anything of note that I really need to bring out. I will say while I'm looking for this, for the people who are concerned about Siltcoos Lake and the levels in Siltcoos Lake, I spoke with the water master yesterday. The new owner of the dam has now got an employee there full-time. The water master pointed out, however, that the order, in the past, the order has been exercised on the high end. They have between 5 feet and 8 feet. They're supposed to keep the levels of the lake at 5 feet, between 5 feet and 8 feet. And in the past, they've been pretty close to 8 feet. The intention now is to make it closer to 5 feet. And that's still within the order as it stands now. It's just not something we're used to, and it's going to take some effort to get used to it. That means there will be some people who cannot use their dock or their boat ramps and that kind of thing without some sort of change being made. But it is still within the order, and I want you to be rest assured that the water master is watching. Daily, she checks on how it's going over there. So she's got an eye on it, but if you have any questions, don't call me, call her. And she's in Roseburg, and her name is Susan Douthit, and she's at the water master's office.
Jamie, why such a dramatic change from 8 to 5? I mean, did she explain?
I don't really know at this point. I do know that they are pursuing the use of the Taconich water rights and the property in Gardner. They're working with the city of Reedsport on an industrial park. But I don't know any of the details or how that's going or anything. I don't know. I wish they would go more on the 8-foot side, and maybe I'll talk to George about that. But or at least bring it up some.
I would be concerned about the people that draw water from there and how that might affect their
And it could.
irrigation.
They may have to add additional line onto their lines, their intake lines.
I think it would be worth getting those answers. I mean, why? I mean, between 5 and 8 is huge. 3 feet's a big difference to me. I mean, settle for 7, or something, but I mean, I would hate to have to drive to my dock.
Right.
I laugh every time I go to Eugene, well, not every time, but when the water changes there, so do you live on the lake? Well, part of the year.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I would really like to explore that a little bit further.
Okay.
5 sounds way too low.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I haven't done my reports yet. Just a second. Bill already told you about one of the things that was happening, that today, they had the training at the port, the hazardous waste thing and that event. I don't know, I didn't get a chance to go, so I don't know how it went, but I wanted to go so badly, I wanted to see it. Ooh, I have way too much paper this month. There we go. Okay. We had a busy permit month. 29 permits were issued. The CAC and the Planning Commission both met and continue their work on the Title 15 chapters. We did submit a grant to FEMA, the Hazard Mitigation Grant, for acquisition of land for the Dune City Connectivity Trail. However, unfortunately, I've already received notice that they're not interested in pursuing that project. Water usage reports continue to be updated and corrected, and I have begun the process of linking points of diversion on our permit to the actual physical place of use, so that I can identify what points of diversion have not been added to the permit. So I'm working on that. All of our staff members have now successfully completed their training and obtained their American Safety and Health Institute training in CPR, AED, and the basic first aid. So they all have their certification for that. That's like a first from what I understand. The Oregon Dunes triathlon and duathlon was successful this year. The city will be working to correct and repair potholes on city roads and that sort of thing, now that the weather is starting to give us a few clear days, if we can just get Richard back in town. Richard has had some major issues with his family's health, so. And again, the cougar sightings, and be very careful. And other than that, I've asked Councilor Wells to take a look at the gutters. And he said he would. And I'm anxious to get that. When we get the deed recorded is when those propane tanks move to the back. So,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
And we do have already made arrangements for what I call Lake Woodland, which is the big pothole at the end of where Lake Woodland meets Clear Lake. We filled it with concrete temporarily, but we already have everything. We're ready to go with completely pulling it all out and doing it correctly. When they repave that area, they're also going to come out, remove the other planter thing out here, and repave the parking lot. Somehow I'm gonna have to figure out how to design it to create more parking spaces, but I think they will be there. We also have had a couple of interesting things happen in our negotiation process for acquisition of property, and that will require an executive session as well to discuss about the option, to talk about the options there. So there are some things with litigation again that will be a separate meeting, or actually right now just kind of sitting tight and waiting for things to take place the way they do. So, and I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions of me.
Someone suggested to me the other day, and I think it was Bonnie, that that whenever the boat goes out to do water testing, they have a GPS in that thing. If you needed to know where certain things were, they could maybe identify, or get the coordinates of what you were talking about earlier.
I
Is
appreciate
that right, Bonnie? Am I misquoting you?
Yeah, I did say that.
I appreciate that very much. I actually looked into buying a GPS for the city and then realized by playing with Google Earth in there, I can do a search. I have the points of diversion by longitude and latitude. I just didn't know how to enter that and have it show me on the map where it was. It still won't be ideal because there's a lot of places where one straw goes in and takes to 5 different houses. 5 different houses, and they all have their own systems and all that stuff. They just share that one pump. And so I have to guess on that part. but I think it's gonna be pretty accurate by the time I get it finished.
Okay.
And I don't
thought
think
that
it'll
was a
be
really good
admitting.
idea.
So I appreciate it, but I think I've got it covered now. Although you still, I want to confirm that I'm doing it right and that Google Earth is correct. So I want you to go out in your kayak and with your phone
I will do that.
and float yourself over your pump. Okay, thank you.
All right, for the good of the order. Tom? Nope.
I'm good.
No, sir. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. It is 7:50, 49 or so. Thank you.